Hey everybody, welcome to Workforce Gaming. I am Brad, here with Doug.
Eight.
I finally got to Tekken 8,
Mm-hmm.
which I actually forgot was this year. It's one of those games that I just kind of kept waiting on and waiting on,
Oh,
and
geez.
sometimes yeah, it came out in like January. Sometimes I feel like I miss a game and it's like, all right, I'm like 2 months past. I'm gonna wait for it to be $30.
Yeah, our January, February fits are usually like the previous year's like game of the years sort of
Yeah,
thing.
this is finally $30, so I bought it.
Yeah,
And that is Tekken 8,
exactly.
which every time I play Tekken, I forget that Tekken is probably my favorite fighting game franchise.
Yeah, we always review Mortal Kombat first and Street Fighter first. I was like, I think Tekken's the one you liked. I mean, not that you don't like
Tekken is
those
the one
other
I
ones, but
like. Tekken
yeah.
is the one that I realized that I've platinumed the last 3 games, and Tekken 3 is like my all-time favorite fighting game. So
Yeah.
yeah, I finally decided to play Tekken 8, the latest game in my favorite fighting game franchise,
Sure.
11 months later. But anyway,
Yeah.
Tekken 8, it is Tekken. We'll just start there. I mean, it's a fighting game. You kind of know what you're getting into when you look at this. I don't feel like we need to get too much into it. I do want to kind
Mhm.
of focus in on one part just to start with, because kind of the new piece of combat that they added that I actually really like. And I feel like it's kind of this trend now that every fighting game you need to have your big cinematic super moves and everything.
Sure. Yeah.
And I think sometimes those are kind of to their detriment. Sometimes they fit well. I actually really thought this one fit in good. So now you have a heat bar.
Mhm.
And basically what it is one time per match. You can hit R1 to activate this, and you basically do, a little bit more damage, take a little bit less damage, and you get like one shot at like kind of a double strength move, so to speak. Like you get a little bit of
Mhm.
extra damage on this one super powerful move, but it fits in really well because you can do lots of breaks with it. You can do guard breaks. You can kind of like do rush combos with it. So you can kind of fit it in really well. It fits really well into combos, which I think a lot of
Mhm.
these don't when they do them. And then you also get kind of your final smash move, which only activates when you're down to like your last like half centimeter of a health bar.
That's
So
annoying.
you, I, well, it's
For the
one of
other
those things where,
person, that's got to be really
yes,
annoying.
I do think it's worth pointing out at this point. I do not play this competitively
Sure. Oh, yeah, of
online at
course.
all. Like my last like 5 or 6 trophies to platinum this thing are the play 10 matches online, win a ranked
Sure.
match. Like those are the trophies I have left. I don't do that. So playing against like the CPU, like it's fine. I have no
Mhm.
qualms with it because they very rarely will hit it, but I'll hit it all the time. So it really just works in my benefit.
Sure. Yeah, that's fair.
But it's kind of your big final smash. You're like uppercutting him way up in the air and slamming him down, and just all kind of these kind of weird, almost supernatural things that come in. And it only comes in that last little bit. Which,
Mhm.
if you're really getting a good combo with them, you can almost make it so they skip it because of how late it comes in. So if you get that combo really good at the end, then they
Oh,
don't even have a
gotcha.
shot at it, which I
Mhm.
think works pretty well. Just because again, it takes away some of the element of like, oh well, you can just use it every time. So well, no, if I combo you out and I get a good
Yeah.
like 10 hit combo in to end this match, you're not gonna be able to do it.
So it kind of puts some of the onus on the person who is beating them to finish it off, or like before they get
Basically, yeah,
another
before
opportunity
they
to
can get that,
respond.
and
Yeah.
they're blockable and all that stuff too. So
Yeah.
there's of course a little bit of defense that comes in there, but that's really it in terms of the fighting game extras here. Otherwise, it is just Tekken, and Tekken
Mhm.
is the best. I love Tekken. I think it's kind of like it's one of the last real 3D ones. Everything
Yeah,
else is
sure.
kind of shifted back to 2D, and Dead or Alive's not around. Soul Calibur really isn't around anymore. So it really is
Mhm.
just down to if you want 3D fighters, which is what I really started out with on PlayStation 1 with Tekken 3
Yeah.
and really got into. I mean, I played a lot of Street Fighter 2, Mortal Kombat 3 on Genesis and Super Nintendo, but Tekken
Mhm.
3 is really where it's like, this is it. And there were tons of 3D fighters, Dreamcast, PlayStation 2, and that's just kind of
PS
gone away. So,
PS2 especially, I feel like, because even Mortal Kombat went because like Mortal Kombat was
yep,
chasing the trend of being a 3D
3D.
fighter. So there's like 3D tech Mortal
Yep.
Kombat. But I remember like Soul Calibur 2 was huge, at
Oh,
least
I love
in
Soul
high
Calibur
school.
2.
Yeah, it is kind of weird they've gone like just totally gone by the wayside more recently.
I think that's one of the things that I actually am really into with fighting games now is you get one a generation. Like this
Sure.
is the Tekken. Mortal Kombat 1
Mhm.
is the Mortal Kombat. Street Fighter 6 is the Street Fighter versus
Mhm.
all these like incremental like well you got Street Fighter 2 and then you got Street Fighter 2 Turbo and then you've got Street Fighter Third
Mhm.
Strike and then you've got Street Fighter Alpha. What? It's like no,
Yeah,
you get
yeah.
your one fighting game and we're really going to make sure that that thing is incredible and perfect. And that's what this feels like, where it's just like, no, we really just focused in. This is your one Tekken for the next 5 or 6 years.
Mhm. Yeah.
Enjoy it. We'll be back in 5 or 6 years with 9. There's story threads that we'll get to in a minute that we need to wrap up.
That's what I'm most curious about. This one is the story threads. That's part of the conversation I'm excited to talk about, because I know you got super it. You're like, actually, this game, the story, this is actually good. Like, not even like ironically good, but actually like a fun.
It
good
is
thing.
it is fun, crazy sci-fi, and if you're not familiar with the story of Tekken, it's stupid.
Yeah.
It's stupid in the best ways. It's amazing. It is everybody has died 7 times, and everybody is kind of still alive, but kind of dead. And everybody has supernatural powers, but nobody really wants to talk about that. And there's also been
Sure.
World War III, but that's okay. And corporations run the world, and they all hate each other. And that's fine too, because everything's kind of okay until one guy decides to, nope, everything's horrible. It's crazy. I love Tekken. But anyway, so kind of your cinematic story mode here, a little shorter than most of them. It was only like 3 or 4 hours compared to a lot of them that I think Mortal Kombat tends to push closer to like 8 to 10. What I really liked about this one is it's very personal. It is Jin, and it is Jin's story. Whereas I feel like a lot of other fighting games, when they do these cinematic story modes, they really feel like we need to shoehorn in every single character. Like Mortal Kombat, you play 3 fights as Liu Kang, then you do 3 fights as Raiden, then you do 3 fights as da-da-da, and 3 fights as 3 fights as 3 fights as, and you work your way basically through 75% of the roster. I feel like they try and fit in there. This is 90% of the fights you fight as Jin.
Oh, weird.
There's a
I didn't realize that.
There's a couple other ones where it like fits in. It's like, okay, like, yeah, Jin's taking a break, and like, well, Jin's taking a break, this happened, and now I'm fighting as whoever. But 90% of it is Jin. And I think that works really well for Tekken because it is such a family story with world-changing implications, but really it's just that like grandfather, father, and son all hate each other's guts, and that is the cause of World War III. That is the cause of the destruction of the earth. It's all just like, we want more powerful. I want to be more powerful than dad, and he's going to be more powerful than my granddad. And my granddad thinks that I'm weak, so he went and did this. It's all family. So
I always appreciate how like everybody's kind of a jerk too. Like, it's like the only series where I feel like all the main guys are like not great. They're kind of bad guys. Jin might be a good guy, but like everybody else is a bad guy. It's like kind of fun.
Yes. And then you've got like these weird side characters that barely matter, who are like, oh no, like we're just trying to help and we want to save the world. And it's like, Kazuya shows up and is like, I'm gonna burn it all down. And then Jin's like, no, I'm gonna burn it all down. And you just all the main characters are assholes. Basically in this, it is Jin's redemption story, which is kind of a weird take on it, because Jin obviously in prior Tekken games basically destroyed the world. And he had the devil gene and he destroyed the world. But this is his redemption story of going like, probably shouldn't have done that. Oops.
Sure. Yeah.
So in this one, Kazuya is basically the head of G Corp, which is basically this world controlling superpower corporation. And you're kind of trying to take him down because he's basically become this crazy dictator of the world. And turns out he has the devil gene and turns into super crazy devil, as Jin has done in the past. Starts with literally like a 15-minute fight, like 8 rounds, Jin versus Kazuya just destroying city blocks. It is epic. And that again is what the story does so well, is it's epic scenes, epic scenes, epic scenes. And basically what he does is he said, well, now that I'm got the devil gene too, now that I do this, blows up a bunch of satellites, blows everything up, and basically says, I'm the dictator now. I'm going to start the next King of Iron Fist tournaments, and each country gets a representation. And if your country wins, you make it through. Your country gets its ass kicked. We'll figure out what we're going to do about that and take care of you and wipe you off the map. Sorry.
Wait, is it Kazuya who's leading it? Who's leading it, or is that Jin doing that?
No, Kazuya is doing this. Jin is just sitting there like,
oh, okay. I was gonna say that makes more sense. I thought Jin was doing this. Yeah.
No. Jin is going, okay, this is probably a step too far. Like, I started all this. We need to stop it. Like, Jin kind of has this guilt of what he did, and now seeing Kazuya do the same thing is kind of what's going on. But basically, in this fight, he loses his devil gene powers. So he just becomes like completely has none of the access to that power. So basically, the story is him trying to go back and reclaim his power so that he can stop Kazuya from doing this. It's great. There's huge, epic, like, giant army battles where you're just like punching and kicking in the middle of giant army battles with helicopters and tanks and machine guns, but you're fighting a guy without a shirt on in the middle of it. And
it looks like Dynasty Warriors. Like there's it's like the new sort of Tekken 4C thing, but they kind of made it like a Dynasty Warrior thing. Or am I totally off base on that?
There is one particular scene where there's this big battle. It's only maybe I don't know, maybe 10% of the story mode takes place here. And that's actually where he plays a lot of the characters that aren't Jin.
Mhm.
But it is Tekken Force reminiscent, but it's basically just like a circle arena that's 3D where there's just guys running at you. So it's not like
Gotcha.
Tekken
Okay.
Force where you're walking through like a whole building and everything. You're in one environment and more guys are just coming, and it's basically a Dynasty Warriors looking fight because you're
Mhm.
just this one hero character in the midst of, it's mostly Jax, but Jax and just a couple other like soldiers from the corporation.
That's cool. Yeah.
It's crazy. It is one of my favorite one of these, and I think it
Mhm.
reinforces kind of why I like Tekken, just because the story, it just very much fits with what I like. Like, it's just dumb
Sure.
sci-fi. It's just over the top. It's everything. It doesn't have. I think Mortal Kombat just leans too hard into like this. Like, we're just going to be violent for violence sake sometimes.
Sure. Yeah.
Street Fighter doesn't do these well at all, and Tekken is the one that's like, this is my favorite part of these games now, and this is
Sure.
probably the best one.
It feels like, I mean, are they like a little tongue in cheek about it now? Like, I mean, do they realize their story's kind of getting off the rails at this point, or is it all like doing it very self seriously?
Oh, it's all serious.
Oh, okay.
There's no messing
Gotcha.
around. Like, there is like, yeah, there are monologues in this. Jin is going over and over again on how like he needs to reclaim his power to like make sure that this it is all
Yeah,
done completely seriously. So
that's very funny.
it's great. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it.
Sure.
The other thing I didn't know, so I'm obviously jumping in this 11 months later. There's a
Mm,
second story,
mm,
and this is all the DLC characters. So what they've been doing is every time a new DLC character jumps in,
mm.
they add on to this extra story. So you get to do 3
Oh, that's
fights
cool.
as Eddie, who's the first one, 3 fights as the next character, 3 fights as the next character, and it tells a whole nother story.
Mm.
And I feel fine spoiling this at this point because the game spoils it from the freaking menu. The big
Sure.
thing with Tekken 7 is that at the end, Heihachi is dead. Heihachi's been the
Yeah.
main character of Tekken since Tekken 1. He died at the end of Tekken 7. Well, third DLC character, here he is. Kept that
So
off the
yeah.
table for about
Yeah.
8 months. And actually, when you load it up, because it's like whoever the most recent DLC character is like the big like profile face on the
Yeah.
start menu. So you just like start it up and it's like boop, and there's his face, and then you start the story with Heihachi Mishima is dead, and you're like, but his face.
It's really funny.
But
Yeah.
anyway, so the DLC story is actually basically like justifying how he comes back into being in this game, which
Sure.
is
Okay.
interesting. It's free. It's kind of cool because it's just like, okay, what I want from a DLC character is I normally just want to do 3, like, just give me a couple fights with this character and I'm done.
Mhm.
Chances are a DLC character is not going to be my main. I'm not going to spend hours and hours learning their moves. It's just,
Yeah.
I want one more excuse to play like 5 more matches. And that's what the
Mhm.
DLC story does. It's like, here's 3 matches as Eddie. Here's 3 matches as Heihachi. Like, and that's it. It is almost as long as the actual main campaign story, though. Like,
Oh,
it
weird.
took me
Okay,
about
weird. Yeah.
2 hours to get through the free DLC story. It's got all the same stuff. It's very, very great. It plays along concurrently with that, but obviously telling a different story. Very,
Mhm.
very cool. And just a free way to play the DLC, which I think is something more fighting games need because, oh, look, Eddie Goro's back. Like, I can play as him for a while. This is
Yeah.
fun. Maybe I should pay for him. I
Yeah, yeah,
didn't,
it's like
but
you
the
need a
thought
little bit of
crossed
a
my mind.
demo. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it is nice. I actually feel like we're getting more demos now, and that's like another indication of like, yeah, people want to try out this stuff before you charge them 10, $15 for whatever it is. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, in addition to the story mode, there's so much stuff in this game. That's part of the reason why I love it so much. It's incredible. Um,
Hmm.
every single character has what's called a character episode. These are your traditional like arcade endings. They're just
Hmm. Yeah.
5 quick battles. You get your cutscene at the end, cutscene at the beginning. They're like, what if so and so won the tournament?
Yeah.
What if Nina Williams was the king of Iron Fist this time? And just kind of those fun things to play with that I think a lot of games moved away from, or just moved to like 2 text screens at the end. Street
Well,
Fighter
that's my
6.
question. Yeah, is it just two text? Because that was the thing that was annoying me about. I think it was Street Fighter was that because like Tekken 3 had a bunch of cool CG cutscenes at the end for
They
all the
are.
arcade.
Oh
Really?
yeah, they are back. Yep, every single
Oh my
character has a
god.
CG, like a 30 seconds to
Sure.
2-minute cutscene at the end.
Yeah. Yeah.
Quick 5-minute ones, but every single character has one. What's really cool is actually after you beat the game, there are 2 characters in particular whose character episodes unlock after the game, and those aren't
Oh,
even
cool.
related to like a tournament because normally all the rest of them are like Nina enters the tournament to do da
Yeah.
da 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 da. You fight the tournament, you win, you do the thing.
Hmm.
Story. Theirs are like weird, like alternate reality
Oh,
stories
that's cool.
because they're
Yeah.
like main characters in the story that don't really play like have a role. So like they're envisioning like different worlds of what could have happened. Very,
cool.
very cool. Very, very well done. But it's just like, it's one of those things that I missed because that was my favorite part of Tekken 3 is you went through and you filled up that gallery of every single character's like minute long CG cutscene.
Mm-hmm. And some of them were like really unique. I remember like the one that I always remember the most was like Ling Xiaoyu's in Tekken 3 was like an anime cutscene thing where she gets an amusement park. I was like, this is incredible. Do they go? Yeah. Are they like they're probably not as silly as that, but are there like some good silly ending stuff? Or are they like pretty self-serious?
I've only done that's one of the other ones I can clean up. I've only done maybe 8 or 9 of them.
Oh, okay, sure.
Out of the like 30. And I did most of the ones that were like the serious characters.
Okay, sure. That's
like,
fair.
I haven't done like Kuma's yet. Or
that's always the best. Yeah, those are always the best ones.
But some of them lean a little bit that way, but some of them are just like weird, like that character's take on what's going on. Like Xiao uses basically like her and Jin falling in love at the end of it. So it does take those kind of just those like little cheeky moments. The story is very self-serious, but these are much more like the goofy fun. Like, okay, like we're a fighting game with bears in it, like and robots. Sure. Like, give the bear and robot something goofy to do.
Exactly. Yeah, it's cool.
The only other main mode I want to talk about is something called Arcade Quest. So, Tekken and a few other games have done this, where like you go to an arcade and just kind of tries to simulate that feeling of like playing in an arcade. This one, they actually use it as the tutorial for the game, which I thought was really, really cool. Weird. So basically, it's like you and your friend group go into an arcade and they're like, oh man, Tekken 8's out. Like, you should check it out.
That's cool.
And then Harada is there. It's like, no. If you can make it to the Tekken World Championships, like, you can come with me. And like, he's actually like a character in the game.
It's really funny.
It is really funny. So it's basically you and your friends like going through and you're like, the first one, they're like, do you remember how to play Tekken? Yes or no? And then you can do like the basic like punch kick like tutorial. And then you go to the next arcade. You're like, okay, we're getting like pretty good at this. Let's go to the next arcade. The next arcade's like, okay, well, do you want to learn about heat actions? Like, I think you're going to need some heat actions to win in this arcade.
Yeah.
And you play through 5 or 6 arcades like as the tutorial.
Oh, that's cool.
So like by the last one, it's like, do you want to learn like frames and guard breaks and all this kind of stuff?
Oh, okay.
And, you know, your 20 hit combos where you've got to get 7 button presses in a row. Do you want to practice those versus the beginning where you're that? And then, you know, you go on and win the Tekken championship and you're the greatest fighter of all time at Tekken 8.
Because you learned like the one final advanced technique. Like
Exactly, yeah.
Is there more to it once you do the tutorial, or is that like it's just a tutorial and that's basically the end of it?
You can like go back and like try and rank up and do all the stuff that you've always done before where it's like, okay, you can get to like whatever level if you want to. You can go back and play it. I basically did that and was like, okay, cool. I did it. I'm the greatest Tekken 8 player in the world, so done.
Sure. That's really funny. I learned some advanced techniques. I am now the best.
Exactly. It does unlock like ghost mode where like you can do all the different ghosts and things like that. You can download ghosts and everything. That's kind of what it unlocks. So when you do it, as you can get to that. Harada has a ghost fighter in there that you can fight as. It's like I think his title's like Godfather of Tekken or something like that. Funny. So just again, it's such a fun, cool game. I absolutely love it. If you like Tekken, this feels like just such a callback to everything you love about Tekken. Tekken Ball is in here.
Cool.
There are lots of, in that story, there's lots of callbacks. There's like 1 or 2 scenes in particular, like, oh no, because there's like very much a memory I had from like Tekken 4 or Tekken 6. And you're like, oh no, they did the thing. Like, or, oh man, there's like a flashback and that's a scene from Tekken 3. Just so much good stuff.
That's cool.
I love this game. It is probably one of my favorite fighting games I've played in a long time. Street Fighter 6 last year, I think, is one of those where it's like, this is arguably one of the best fighting games that has come out in a long, long time. This is one of those. This is probably like the funnest and just my favorite fighting game that's come out in a long, long time.
That's awesome. Yeah.
You should play Tekken 8. It's like $30 now. But we are Workforce Gaming. Subscribe to our channel. Leave a comment below. There's links for us on Coffee as well. We'll see you later.
Bye.